Welcome back to another edition of the Unofficial Guide Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. This is Len, and I'm very excited today because we've got Jim on the phone live from Orlando, where he's just done a walkthrough of the new Universal Studios Diagon Alley construction site. Haven't talked to Jim about any of this ahead of time. What you guys hear is what I'm going to hear for the first time. I'm as giddy as a schoolgirl, so let's get started. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, Len.
How's it going?
It's been a kind of crazy couple of days.
All right, so set this up. How did you get invited to this? It's like the Wonka golden ticket.
Well, to be honest, I wish that the Wonka golden ticket had come at the, because of the wonderful work I do at Jim Hill Media or for the Unofficial Guide. But no, it was my HuffPo gig that's kind of kicked open the door.
Whatever.
But yeah, that's got the golden ticket, and yeah, they were like, come down, but just warning in advance. It's like, look, this is construction hat, this is vest, this is goggles, this is steel-toed shoe country.
Really?
I mean, it's a construction site. For example, the actual main street of Diagon Alley right now is dirt and plywood. There is, the cobblestones will probably come in another 6 to 8 weeks. It's kind of fascinating to be down in the depths of it because in a weird sort of way, I guess the best way to describe it is they're doing three-dimensional chess. So what would be strange is you'd come around a corner and there'd be a facade that was completely done. I mean, it was in place, it was painted, the signage was up, and yet right next to it was, a building that was still covered with lath and scaffolding that was clearly weeks from being done, but they're building out from within. I mean, I know a lot of people right now have seen the scaffolding on the outside of the London facades come down in the last week and it's like, oh, it's ready. It's like, no, it's nowhere near ready, but it's very, very cool. They are, I won't lie to you, Len, this is, Hogsmeade. Hogsmeade on steroids doesn't even really cover it. This is the brand new gold standard for theme park design. When you are down inside of Hogsmeade, inside of these little tight streets of Diagon Alley, and the buildings tower up over you 5 stories, you can't see anything but this place.
Really? So they kept it like it's in the movie. Despite they didn't widen it to 6 lanes wide to accommodate more people. It's really. In fact, one of the stories they told, and this I thought was fascinating, Stuart Craig, when he was designing the Leaky Cauldron for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, they already had the job at that point. They already knew that they were going to do the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and Stuart was hoping someday that he'd get designed the full Leaky Cauldron. So he did. And it's just like, okay, so... Just for kicks? Like, you know what? We might use this one day.
We might use this one day. So when you go with the Leaky Cauldron, this is what Stewart envisioned for the full film, or for the film, and if they'd done a full build-out. But the reality with the film is they just picked the angle that they needed to tell the story. And that's what they got. But this is, in fact... Dale Mason, who at some point you have to sit down with this guy, Len. He's been with Universal forever. In fact, what was funny is that at one point it was myself and Ricky Bergranti. He was actually there representing Fox News, if you can believe it.
Okay, sure.
And Ricky asked him, "Where are we, in relation to Jaws?" And Dale said, I built that. Hang on.
Hold on a second.
And just sort of stared at the end of the street, stared off in the other direction and said, I think we're on the island. But Dale's been there forever. And Dale was talking about how, when Stewart designed, for example, the 3 broomsticks at Hogshead Tavern over at Hogsmeade, the way they chose the length of the beams and that sort of thing, with the notion of, look, this is an 800-year-old Scottish village, or representation of it. So the beams would be as long as they could get tree limbs. They didn't have steel then.
Sure.
So that's why you had that kind of wonky design. And in the case of Diagon Alley, the history of this has been hidden away in London for hundreds of years.
Sure.
So, for example, as you walk down Diagon Alley toward the Gringotts Vault, one side of the street is Tudor, and in the Tudor style. Mm-hmm. And as a result of which, they're older buildings, so they're leaning in closer to the street. They all look a little less safe. Whereas on the right side of the street, this is more Victorian.
Okay.
And so, they're a little bit straighter, but yeah, I mean, the commitment to tell this story, the way they do it, they go miles deep. I mean, for example, Nocturne Alley, this is the first of the Harry Potter parks, and that's the other thing that's worth noting here. They are all but done on Harry Potter and the Wizarding World for Universal Studios Japan. In fact, poor Theory Coop next week is getting on a plane, and he's one of the key people at Universal Creative. He's going to spend the next 10 days endlessly writing their version of Forbidden Journey just to make sure it's ready for the public.
Oh, could you imagine what his stomach is going to be like?
Well, no, that's it exactly. It's just sort of like, let's see, when you're checking onto the plane and you have one suitcase full of clothes and the other one's got Dramamine.
Excuse me, sir. We're not sure whether we have an import limit for Dramamine, but whatever it is, you're over it.
There you go.
So walk me through this. So what's the entrance? How did they walk you in to Diagon Alley?
That's the interesting thing. That they were as straightforward as they could be, but at the same time they'd be oddly coy at moments. I mean, for example, let's start on the London Embankment. Okay, what you can see right now, facing out toward the Universal Studios Lagoon. Yeah. Every one of those facades there is, based on either a real building or a piece of the Harry Potter world. I mean, for example, you've got the entrance to King's Cross Station, you've got the Charing Cross Road bookstore, you've got the Wilhelm Theater, and then, again, the nicest touch is they've got Grimaldi Place, which, if you remember that movie, there were buildings that actually sort of unzipped themselves to, you got to where the Order of the Phoenix was hidden,
right,
operating out of. And that's what's fun, is they built that building, or that set of buildings, and it just, you just picture there's going to be some child who's just going to stand there all day.
Yeah, exactly.
If I wait, it will, but yeah, right in front of the building or right in front of this facade is the night bus. And what's nice about the night bus. Night bus, for Harry Potter fans, this is the big purple 3-story bus that took Harry after he was thrown out by the Dursleys and, had his first encounter with Sirius Black in dog form. Boy, I am spoiling everything here.
Wow.
But this was the night bus that picked him up and actually took him to the Leaky Cauldron.
Okay.
And what's great is, if you remember from the film, the shrunken head that was hanging from the rearview mirror, this is actually the interactive element for the entrance to Diagon Alley, that you can go up. The shrunken head is going to talk to you. That's as he spoke with the driver of the bus in Harry Potter in the fourth film. All right, jumping ahead here now. This is where it gets kind of interesting, because they're insisting that they're going to stay true to form to the books in that and the movies. In that from the outside there were no real overt signs that the wizard. I mean, that's the whole point of Diagon Alley. It's in London, but it's hidden, and it's in plain sight. But the Muggles walk right by it, never knowing that it's there.
Okay.
But if you're a fan of the books and the movies, there are going to be these little subtle signs out front that tell you how to go in. And
wait, so it's not going to be obvious how you get in?
No.
Oh, that's genius.
Now, again, you and I have both
crazy, but it's crazy genius.
Okay, but at the same time, just understand that that's what they're saying now. In 6 weeks, when there's a big neon sign like Diagon Alley, because again, I came to your park, to your wonderful new land. I didn't find it. I went home. It's
I'd like my $75 back, please. Yeah, exactly.
And but if you've seen even in the moment where Harry enters the Leaky Cauldron and the wall unfolds in front of him and reveals Diagon Alley, they're gonna do that. They're actually thinks, how are you going to do this effect? And all I got were smiles back from Alan Gilmore and Dale Mason. They just said, come back in a couple of weeks. We'll show you if it works.
Once we figure it out.
But you step out onto the main drag, and you right there, that you come through the portal. Directly to your left is the Leaky Cauldron.
Okay.
And in fact, that's got to talk yesterday with Stephen Jason, the executive chef at Universal, and he swore have specific new items that will only be available in the Leaky Cauldron, that fans of the Harry Potter books will love. On the other hand, just sort of like, so oh, well, that's cool. So you got these approved by J.K. Rowling already. And he kind of went, well, no, we're going over in April. And when she says we can do them, we'll do them. But it's just sort of like, oh, well, okay. So it'll be interesting to see what actually makes the cut.
Going over in April, which means no preview before April. Okay, good. All right, good.
Well, that's no, I have to caution you here. When I originally wrote my story for HuffPo today, I was talking with the folks at Universal and assuming that they were going to, that the pattern would hold. I wrote that Diagon Alley will be opening in late spring, early summer, and
late spring is June.
Well, that's the thing that the one bit of feedback I got back was, could you change that to summer?
Okay. So after June 21st.
Yeah, and then what was funny is that Dale made a joke as we're walking through the, and only people who remember what happened with Rip Ride Rocket will get this joke. It's like, yeah, this summer, but remember that summer sometimes means November, so because this is big. This is huge. For example, right across the street from the Leaky Cauldron is Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, and this is a 3-story tall joke shop, and it's tricked out with all sorts of gags and interactive elements, but at the same time, it's a retail establishment, so they're but it's going to be a must-see, a must-visit.
Okay.
Now we proceed up the street.
Was Weasley's facade done when you were there?
Well, no. That's in fact what was kind of funny is they had, if you've seen the concept art, which has one of the Weasleys could have done in maquette form, and he's a 18-foot tall version of him coming up through a shop hat that he lifts and reveals he's got a rabbit under it. The window was in place. There was, you could clearly see the support mechanisms for the figure, but the figure wasn't done. The glass wasn't done. But the weird thing is you walked around to the back of the building, as part of our tour one point, and they've got all of the signage in place and beautiful, funny, look like, these giant, and again, done in the Victorian style of advertising. So it's like, this huge sign to the effect of try our dung bombs, and, it just, so this, again, that was what was so bizarre about it. You would come around and see something finished, beautiful, perfect, but at the same time, Dale mentioned that it's like, yeah, the problem is right now it looks finished, it's perfect. In fact, it was Nancy who was asking about this, that, when it's finished and perfect, that means that the agers haven't come in yet.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the thing Dale sort of walked us through what they do, is that once they finish the facade of the building, the painters come in. And once the painters are done with the first coat, the graphics people come in and will do the signage over that. And then finally, because this is, again, supposed to be almost a bubble of Victoria, inside of modern London. So that means there's no modern technology back here. And it's lit by gas lamp.
Hold on one second, Jim. You're breaking up. So it's you there?
The buildings are heated by coal or wood. So they actually.
Hey, Jim. Hold on one second. You're breaking up.
Okay.
So so they're gas lamps.
Gas lamps, and all the buildings are heated either by coal or by wood.
Okay.
It means that when they're done, and so the painter gets to stand back and wow, it looks beautiful. And the graphic guy, that's great work. And then here comes the guy who does soot. He's like, time to go screw up your work, guys.
This is beautiful. It's going to look lovely under this layer of ash. All right, so continuing down the street. So we've passed the Leaky Cauldron. We've passed Weasley's.
Okay, up ahead now we have the Magical Menagerie, and this will be basically an opportunity to buy a Harry Potter themed. The notion is that every child who goes off to school at Hogwarts has to have their animal, whether it's their owl or their rat or their cat or whatever. And so this will be selling soft plush toys of that, but at the same time they'll have lots of displays that interact, and there'll be lots of noise. In fact, that's the other thing. They were talking about the soundtrack.
Oh, there's a soundtrack. That's right. There's got to be music in the background. Sure.
Well, actually, more to the effect of you're in a city. You are, and there's 5 stories worth of stuff going on over your head. So you're hearing people having conversations in, apartments, further on up. In fact, that's the other thing that's really kind of fun when you come through the brick portal. If you directly turn around as you come through the brick portal, you can look up into the inn where visiting wizards, again, they come into London to shop at Diagon Alley. So they've taken a room for the night at the Leaky Cauldron, and you're going to be able to hear them in the rooms. You're going to be able to see them walk by their windows. You're going to see, magical spells go horribly wrong. Again, we're just a third of the way down the street now, and if you're looking down to where the castle would be, this is Gringotts Wizarding Bank.
Okay, that's the weenie, the castle.
And trust me, you're going to know this weenie because there's a dragon on top of the building. All right, and a dragon that's blowing flames at regular. But yeah, that's and these are not theme park streets. This is not. Again, when Disney will build something that's a main street, they'll actually refer to that as the retail corridor, and they'll make it as wide as possible to move a parade down or move as many people as possible. This is a narrow London street. In fact, when you make the turn to go down Nocturne Alley, this is maybe 8 to 10 feet across, if that. And it's, and the thing with Nocturne Alley is, it's always in darkness. It's always, and so,
wow.
Again, it's just one of these things where I'd love to have been in the meeting with the lawyers at Comcast.
Look, it's going to be dark and narrow, and there might be spikes popping up all over the place.
Yeah. So.
All right. So we've passed the Magical Menagerie.
Yep. Okay. Now continuing down the street. We have Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions, and dear Lord, this is, an elaborate storefront where, again, the whole notion of if your child buys into the Harry Potter world at all, this is where they go and buy their robes for school, they buy their stuff that identifies which house they hope to be sorted into, hats, gloves, scarves. In fact, that's what's so fascinating is that in an age where you can't get Disney to print a napkin for a separate restaurant, you have generic merchandise that's in locations all over the place. There are stores here that will sell only one item or a set of items about only one aspect of the Harry Potter world. For example, quality Quidditch supplies. Mm-hmm. Seriously, it's just about the game of Quidditch. You can buy uniforms for individual teams, again, that don't exist in the real world, But it's like if you're, the Chudley Chowfires or whatever the names of the teams are, they're going to have them in there. They're going to have the numbered jerseys. And it's like, well, if you really believe in this world and you really believe in Quidditch, it's like, here's your uniform and here's your quaffle, wow. And likewise, they're going to have a school supply place of Scribblers where, the notion is this is where you buy your quills. This is where you buy your parchment, that you use when you go to Hogwarts. And in fact, that's the other thing that's just absolute genius about this whole thing because, the notion is you enter Diagon Alley. You do your shopping to go to school. You then get on the Hogwarts Express and travel to Hogsmeade and go to Hogwarts Castle.
I was going to ask you where Hogwarts Express fits into this.
This is, and that's the other thing that they, if you saw the broadcast today, they, Theory Coop actually walked through, gave people the first look at what they're going to do, and it's actually, Glenn, it's an ingenious design. It's one of these things where the cabins that you ride in, going back and forth to Hogwarts, they're facing into the park, so that's where they're going to do the interactive window. And in fact, they got really cagey talking about this. They're finally letting a little detail out, but the whole notion of that when you leave from London, you will see, from your London icons, you're looking at the window, you'll see it gradually give way to the Scottish countryside, and then Harry Potter characters will start to appear, and then you will arrive at Hogsmeade Village and, debark the train. Conversely, if you're going back, you'll have Harry Potter characters sort of come and say goodbye and hope that you'll return to the school, and then you debark in London. There's two very stories out there that the Universal people just sort of smiled at when it got brought up.
Two very interesting stories?
Yes. One is that the notion is that you had two very distinct, just totally different shows. One going from London, one going from Hogsmeade. And there was at some point a discussion of the train would be attacked by Dementors and that sort of thing. And they seem to have stepped away from that. The notion now is, in fact, Nancy and I were just talking with a gentleman who, from the Harry Potter world, who was really beating up the Universal Creative people and evidently got them to slip a pretty significant piece of information. And supposedly the train ride, the elements on the train ride are random. So there's supposedly 400 different combinations of characters and incidents that can happen going in either direction. So, the notion is that if you're on the train and, and again, you're at the park for your second, third, fourth, fifth trip, you may not see the exact same stuff out the window. I mean,
really?
The view will be the same, but the characters, whether they're doing flybys, whether it's the Ford Anglia with Ron and Harry or, that sort of thing.
That's interesting.
No, but this is what's fascinating about this. I'm blanking the name of the gentleman who plays Neville Longbottom, but he was here. Matthew Lewis. And Matthew, evidently, again, he's a working actor in England, so he spends a lot of time on the train. And he was just talking about how they had taken him into King's Cross Station. I mean, they got the tour at 6:30 in the morning. They got the really good tour. We got the keep the press in a short leash tour. Okay. And he was talking about, you go into King's Cross Station and it's like, it's King's Cross Station. It's like, it's like, how are you guys doing this? And it's like, and with the little, the unsaid question in parentheses, who's paying for this? Oh my God. So. Anyway, all right. Let's continue down the street here. So we've got
just past Scribblus.
Just past Scribblus, we've got we're coming basically to the end of the street. So we start to get into the secondary food opportunities. On our left, just before Gringotts, you're going to have Florian Fortescue's Ice Cream Parlor, and this is supposedly going to be one of, for foodies, the great stops of the Diagon Alley that in the books they referred to when Harry was waiting to actually go to school during the Goblet of Fire. They ended up no, wait a minute, that's Prisoner of Azkaban. I'm sorry, folks, the wrong book. Prisoner of Azkaban, he actually would go there every day, and they were very kind to him and fed him all sorts of flavors of ice cream. So there's a magically themed ice cream, and evidently an amazing device inside that you've got to watch do this sort of thing. To the right at the top of the street is going to be Wiseacres, which is basically the magical department store. So every other device that you can't get, you can get here. And then beyond that, under this giant glass atrium, is Catrix Market.
Okay.
Sorry, checking with Nancy on the pronunciation. But again, outdoor market that will sell food. I mean, again, just think of Faneuil Hall in Boston, or the great Franklin Place in Philadelphia. A great outdoor shopping place with lots of individual carts and that sort of thing. And that just sort of curves around toward the back of the building, back of the area where again you're going to have your opportunity to get on the Hogwarts Express. Again, to the left side is where there's going to be the Nocturne Alley King's Cross element. Again, it's honestly hard to describe some of the stuff because, again, that they are, some of it just seems so random and so piecemeal. You have your finished facades next to, scaffolding, but, then you'd have this beautifully sculpted house elf, 30 feet off the ground that's just sort of a sconce on a building. And then, but the commitment to detail, that, for example, there's a house elf employment agency, down one of the streets. Now, to be fair here, if you know, Hogwarts, Hogsmeade Village, they are doing much the same thing. A lot of these buildings are what they refer to as multifunctional buildings. So there will be doors, for example.
Hold on one second, Jim. Sorry, Jimmy broke up there. There will be doors that what?
There will be doors, a door that won't open or a door that's signed that, we're closed today or that sort of thing. Because, again, that's the back of a storefront that faces into Diagon Alley. Oh, and speaking of which, this is a wonderfully fun little detail. So again, Diagon Alley, the main road. But again, you come to the top of the street where Gringotts is, and it's a cross street. And so Dale Mason was like, hey, we got the chance to name a street in Harry Potter world. And so it was one of these things where they got a hold of J.K. Rowling. Is it okay if we call this horizontally? Went, oh yeah, cool. Sure. So that's, again, they got to actually insert themselves into fiction. So yes, the T of Diagon Alley is horizontally. 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 There we go.
Not bad.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, there's, it's hard to describe the scale. It's hard to describe the notion of looking up and just not seeing anything outside in the theme park. I mean, it's not like Hogwarts where there's the bleed, or Hogsmeade, where, for example, when you're coming up the hill, there's the bleed through of the, the music of the old Lost Continent and, the games or that sort of thing, or hearing the music from Jurassic Park. It's like when you're down in it. And in fact, the thing I think will be fascinating is to come into this area, say, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the gaslight kicks on and the shadows are deep, and, the whole notion of, you can't help but buy into that you're in this kind of magical Victorian world.
Oh, sure.
And at the same time, it's just sort of like, I honestly wonder if, they're going to have issues with parents who are going to go, hey, let's go down Nocturne Alley. And kids like, no way.
All right, good luck with that. Let me know how it goes, Mom.
But at the same time, their Nocturne Alley is another one of these sort of smart plays by Universal. This is the area that celebrates the dark arts. This is the arts that celebrates, the Death Eaters, the minions of He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Right.
And for example, you can go down, there's going to be, what is it, Borgin and Burks. For example, you can go in there and buy a Death Eater mask, which, if you remember from any of the films, are these really sinister, horrible faces that, you can then, wear with a cloak, and it's just like, yeah, that's perfect. Go out and rob a 7-Eleven. We're
going to start seeing these on America's Most Wanted, aren't we?
Yeah. So now, and again, that there's going to be, little things that the fans will love. You'll get to walk by the offices of the Daily Prophet and that sort of thing. Now, I think it's important to talk about. They started introducing the language. Now, in order to, for example, to get on the Hogwarts Express, the language they're using, you're going to need park-to-park admission. In fact, that's a phrase here. Park-to-park admission is required.
Yep.
Likewise, in trying to describe what they're doing here, it's, what is it? Again, Len, you've been dealing with press releases and the white people who build theme park stock for years, so you'll love this. The world's first centrally themed multi-park experience.
Centrally themed okay, so based on Harry Potter, multi-park experience. Sure, okay.
So, But and again, just to stress here, we've got this. This is built. They are, and there's going to be some interesting sort of blowback effects on Hogsmeade Village. I mean, for example, the train station that they're building there, for people to get on the Hogwarts Express, will have the exact same sort of theming as Hogsmeade, the 800-year-old Scottish village that's still kind of magically in winter. So expect snow on the top of the building, that sort of thing.
Okay.
At the same time, though, understanding that, they're hoping that once they open Diagon Alley, that it will take some pressure off of the Hogsmeade Village.
Sure.
They're actually pulling Zonkos, the little gag shop stuff, out of the candy store. Again, as you go into...
Really?
Yeah. Well, with the notion of take the gag stuff and put it all the way, just if you've got Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Yeah, put it there.
That's the place this stuff's got to go. And just extend the candy shop. At the same time, the Ollivanders, which people will stand in outside in the Florida sun for hours to get into.
Yeah.
They're building the full-sized version. You're going to walk in. This is what you saw in the film. This is where, you saw John Hurt, actually hand Harry his wand. And this one supposedly to help with, just deal with the number of people trying to get into it.
Where's it going to go?
This is actually mid-street, going down Diagon Alley on your right side, just before Wiseacres.
Okay, so after Scribblus?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Then from there, but the whole notion is because this is floor to ceiling. If you've been in the one in over at Hogsmeade, it's impressive. But this one is basically going to double the size of the room, more practical effects, very much more impressive experience. And supposedly with 3 rooms as opposed to...
Oh, so they can cycle through, yeah.
Yeah, so...
That'll be good. That'll cut down the waits to about 20 minutes. That's good.
And, of course, that given much the same way as you backdoor into a retail environment. You're going out back door into Wiseacres and can buy your wands there.
Okay. That's smart.
But, yeah, it's clever designs. It's again, they keep, what's funny is that, they managed to into virtually every sentence, just in fact, when we went to go, get a beverage in the middle of the press conference, it's like, could we immerse your beverage? But this is, they're rightfully proud of this. And honestly, this is going to be a game changer. And that coupled with the fact of what's going on in Hollywood, they're building Hogwarts Castle out there, which supposedly would, and in fact, that was the other thing they were very careful to state, that yes, there will be a Wizarding World of Harry Potter in, Universal Japan. There will be a Wizarding World of Harry Potter in, California and Hollywood. But each of them will have their own distinct elements. You will only be able to have certain experiences at certain parks, so that, and in fact, the very, very strong rumor coming about California is the way they're deliberately positioning the castle is they're going to have the Great Hall dining experience. And in fact, and
it's just going to be there?
Well, yeah. So, and the notion is that you're going to deliberately build it so that there will be an option if you're just coming for the day to City Walk. You can buy admission just to the Great Hall, just to the dining experience from City Walk. Oh. But otherwise, it's most, but again, that's only if reservations are available. And they're kind of believing that, this is going to be, that they'll have no trouble filling those seats. Anyway, getting back again to when is this going to open? Seriously, based on and in fact, Nancy and I were just over at the park again this morning for the webcast, and then went over and were shooting pictures of the outside of the facade. Yes, the scaffolding is down there, but they're doing roofing, they're doing aging. Even just the London facades, and then you have to lay down the sod, and because for example, there's going to be a statue and fountain from Piccadilly Circus that they're next to us, and flower gardens and that sort of thing.
They're going to what? The Piccadilly Circus?
Yeah, there's a famous, I want to say, the statue of Eros. I forget the name of the actual name of the fountain.
Okay.
But that's going to be there next to the night bus. There's going to be, I mean, the London Embankment is going to be this lovely, green, placid place, which again, just sort of, just sort of, just sort of, nothing crazy would be going on behind this facade. Nothing magical. Keep going. Go to The Simpsons. Leave us alone. It's, they've committed. I guess that's the thing I keep hammering home over and over again. Because again, to make this work, to make people buy into this, to make, in fact, I want to be sure, where did I put my notes? There's a phrase here that that sort of drives the project, which I think is worth, Dale was talking about this, that Stuart Craig, the gentleman who was the production designer for the Harry Potter films and heavily consults with Alan Gilmore on, Alan's the art director overall for what they're doing. But this is the sort of the motto that drives what they've done with Harry Potter. It's like magic can happen only if you believe in the reality of the place. So, a fantasy that's grounded in story, but at the same time is rooted in the reality of architecture. And that's the thing. They have, again, Dale was very proud about the fact that you walk through this Victorian looking environment that's all brick, that, and again, old brick. And he's like, look, you're in a brick in here. All right. It's molded fiberglass, it's steel, and it's carved concrete. So, any brick you're walking on, any cobblestone, is like, we did that. We made all of this, and it was all designed, and we are following those designs faithfully. And, again, it just, in a weird sort of way, all you could think of, or at least all I can think of, is walking through and seeing the Hogwarts Express and the wonderful King Cross Station and that sort of thing. It's like, God, I'd hate to be the Imagineers who were working on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train
right now.
I mean, think about it. Your mine train opens this spring, all right, and it's wonderful, it's cute, it's fun, and then their train opens up, and it's got windows and randomization, and it starts spectacularly and ends spectacularly, and it's just. I don't know. To my way of thinking, Avatar or Star Wars Land can't get here fast enough for Disney, because there's going to be, there's no other way to put this. There's going to be a gravity shift when people go out and start evangelizing about this. And
really? You think it's that good?
It's that good. And that coupled with the fact that, Universal's done some very smart things over the last couple of months, or the last year or so, whether it's Transformers, whether it's the expansion of Simpsons. And again, Simpsons the other day went into Fast Food Boulevard. Mm-hmm. And lines of happy people scarfing Clogger burgers and Krusty burgers.
We ate those.
And
the one with the bacon was just like, it was so over the top.
Well, but here's what's crazy about what Universal does. Nancy and I were talking with Steve Jason, the executive chef for this place, yesterday.
Yeah.
And for the Krusty burgers, for the burgers they do, those burgers are specifically made for Fast Food Boulevard. That they aren't used anywhere else in the resort. It's a special blend of meat. It's, and Steve started to talk about how, there are so many places now at Universal that do this, that do the food specific for one land or one restaurant, with the notion that, look, people will notice, people will care. And again, it's like, we just stopped at Finnegan's today, on the way back to the hotel, and sitting in there having our Irish soda bread. And I noticed,
sure,
the silverware is brought to the table in a napkin, rolled napkin that actually says Finnegan's on it. I mean, yeah. And, think about it. At Disney right now, you're lucky if you actually get a napkin that says Disney, I don't know, that there's a huge banner backstage now, as you drive into Islands of Adventure, that says that Universal's goal is to be recognized for having the best guest service in the themed entertainment industry.
Wow.
All right. And I mean, it's just, again, this is our goal. The employees enter and exit to the park, walking past that. Coupled with the fact that you guys got guys at Universal Creative In fact, that was I want to finish this out with got talking with Mike West, former Imagineer, who's at Universal, just did Despicable Me. I know this guy from Disney. I've never seen him happier. He loves being. But it was one of these things where it's like, why do you like it here? It's like, they don't like to have meetings. They like to build things, and it's like,
that's funny.
And it's just the whole notion. So what are you doing next? He said, can't talk about it. It's really cool. And they're going to keep me busy for a couple of years. So yeah, there are other things beyond Diagon Alley. I mean, that's what's scary. And that coupled with the fact that as part of yesterday's show, we also did a walkthrough of Cabana Bay. And
how was that?
Well, I have to preface this because again, you do crazy things, Len, so you'd appreciate this. On Saturday, Nancy had a high school reunion kind of a thing down in New Jersey. So, and again, we live in New Hampshire. So we drove down from New Hampshire to the middle of New Jersey, and then I proceeded all the way down to the Jersey Shore to Wildwood, which is where they base the architecture for Cabana Bay on. It's that nice beachfront motel look.
It's the what beachfront?
It's specifically Wildwood, New Jersey.
Okay, all right, you're breaking up a little bit, but so there's some words that were gathered. Okay, Wildwood, New Jersey. Okay, we'll Google that. New Jersey. Okay, good.
And it actually referred to it as doo-wop architecture. That the very specific color palette, very 1960s. And so we drive over there, and this is that. This is this lovingly recreated. I mean, it's. What was it? The poor gentleman, Russ, the architect, was trying to stress that, you would know, it's retro and there's vintage, and vintage is when you recreate from that period. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think they're used interchangeably, but
okay.
I've seen the architecture on which, so it's like this particular one is mid-century, maybe a little earlier, so like maybe a little bit pre-war. To like the late 60s or maybe to 1969, 70?
In fact, I would dial it to say 55, 65. I mean, just that chunk. But again, they've got the colors right. We got in the rooms. The furniture is, in fact, I'm a little frightened to see what'll happen when you get in there. Just to report to security. Someone came in and took all of the furniture. I don't know what happened.
Somebody came in, packed it all away, and then they left. They didn't even spend the night. Whatever.
That's right.
I do have a mid-century modern home, so yes. it would go well.
Yeah, again, it was just, and in fact, they were talking about the fact that all of the furniture for the rooms was made custom. He said, well, look, when you do 1,800 rooms, and you say, well, you need an 800 version of those chairs. Like, people are, in furniture manufacturer are very happy. It's like, yes, okay, you can do that. But yeah, that goes live. The first set of rooms, first 600. This is the all family suites end of the hotel.
And when does it
goes live March 31st.
That's right, because I actually have a reservation for March 31st.
I think you are really going to enjoy this. And tell you what, I will come and divert security. Okay, so
there seems to be a giant bear on the loose outside. No, rah, rah. Man frothing at the mouth. It's Jim with some whipped cream.
Again, it's just like, sir, we can't help but notice you drove off to the house or to a hotel in a U-Haul. It's like, oh, coincidence.
Are you planning on moving in? No, I am not planning on moving in. No.
But no, it's just all of these smart pieces coming into place. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I know I'm beating up Disney a bit on this podcast, and it's important to celebrate, for example, that Wilderness Lodge just this week supposedly made it back into the Four Diamonds.
Yeah.
So I mean, and there's good stuff at Disney. They are doing good stuff, but it's just I don't know. In a period where you have Disney spending $1.5 billion on my Disney experience and the magic bands and that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, people are using them, seem to be enjoying them. But to look at something like this and to have it all that same sort of...
Yeah, same sort of investment level, yeah. Yeah, hold on, we lost Jim for a second. Hold, please. Hold on, we're thinking.
It's hard not to kind of want this to really be a success, not just because it's wonderful, because it's ambitious, but more to the point, to light a fire under Disney's ass. Yeah. To have that try and be spectacular. So, but no, I honestly, again, this opens, and again, in summer, and as Dale said, sometimes summer, it means November.
So we'll be looking forward to it. It'll be good. Any word on, to close out, any word on whether Universal Express will be available for on all the on-site guests for this?
In fact, we did get confirmation. In fact, this is just from yesterday from doing Cabana Bay, that those folks, everybody who stays in that hotel, is going to get the same deal as everybody else. They're getting an hour early. I think they're being deliberately cagey. Whenever the subject came up about will there be, express for the guests on property for Gringotts Coaster, which if you've seen the scenes out of Deathly Hallows Part 2, that's the ride. That's this is what they're doing. The coaster, the interactive elements, the little a gnome or trolls. This is they are. Oh God. But at the same time, they don't want to necessarily promise you that you're going to get it. Not until it's going to be some operational issues here. That is the downside of Diagon Alley is between the having to enter through the transforming wall of the Leaky Cauldron to the narrowness of the streets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, there's going to be so you're breaking up a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of it. That there's so many people are going to want to get in that they're being a little bit cagey about whether all of the on-site guests are going to be able to get in all at once. Is that right?
This is true. Okay. Another just one final little button here. There's a lot of people who've been speculating. In fact, this weekend, they're doing their Celebration of Harry Potter event, which is actually the second time they've done this. They did one in 2011, and there's a lot of people, theme park fans, who were speculating. It's like, okay, so this is Universal's run at Star Wars weekends, or that sort of stuff.
Interesting.
And I actually, spoke with somebody in PR, and they said, not yet. There are discussions about this idea, but there's no hard and fast plan yet for doing this event again in 2015 or 2016. Reading between the lines here, they're pretty sure that Diagon Alley all by itself is going to drive attendance for at least the next 2 or 3 years. And then after that, I think when things have calmed down, I think they will circle back on the idea of an annual event. But then it becomes a question of where do you put it? You've got the Mardi Gras, weekends in, late winter, early spring. You've got, all of that time, that you do Halloween Horror Night from the first part of September all the way to early November, and then right into Christmas. So it's where you'd slot it. But don't anticipate that that's going to come back immediately, but couple of years down the line, it's entirely possible that this will become Universal Star Wars weekend.
About the time Avatar opens at Animal Kingdom, we'll see.
And
a whole other thing. All right. All right, Jim. Thanks very much for the detail. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day today to record. We'll get this show up and running very, very soon.
No, it was, again, always glad to do this, and more to the point, just can't wait to get back to myself to see it in finished form.
Should be great. All right, so late summer. Summer might be November. All right,
summer.
For Jim, this is Len. You've been listening to the Unofficial Guide to Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. Please go onto iTunes, rate our show, and let us know what you'd like to hear next, and we will see you on the next show. Thanks.
Take care.